So this time next week, the final decision will be made on whether the final stage of the government's roadmap out of lockdown in England will go ahead on the 19th of July.
Our plan is to look at some of the issues this week. And the one we're starting with, well, when I say we, Nina, is looking at travel. Good morning.
Hospital passed to me. Thank you, Dan. It's the big question, isn't it, around whether we can get abroad for lots of people. We will be getting news next week on what we can do here, but there will still be big restrictions on going abroad. So the traffic light system will continue, for now at least, but there's a possibility we won't have to quarantine returning from amber countries if we're double jabbed. But how and when do we prove that? Will it be accepted abroad? Unsurprisingly, you've been sending loads of questions to us this morning. Thank you so much for that. And we've got the travel expert, Julia Lou Bue-Said, here to help you, and frankly me. Lovely to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. A question from Sue in Scotland. She says her sister-in-law lives in Germany and wants to come to Scotland to visit her mum. Can she come now? Will she need to quarantine when she gets there? She has been double jabbed.
OK, good morning, Nina. There's quite a lot in that very short question. So firstly, because Sue's family are coming over from into a devolved nation, into Scotland, the rules are different. So right through the pandemic, we've seen the separate administrations making very different decisions on travel restrictions, on different restrictions, and the same is for international travel. Thankfully, they do adopt the traffic light system, but as it stands right now, Germany is on the amber list. So coming into Scotland, they will need isolation will form part of that. So there's a 10-day isolation, testing for 2 days. So you need to test on day 2 and day 8. But that's even before she stepped onto the plane. She will need to take a test before she steps onto the plane to show a negative result. Unfortunately, right now, no UK government recognises vaccination status, so there is no benefit in that. And obviously, we're hoping that will change. An important point, however, also is unlike the government in England, what she will not be able to do is benefit from the test to release scheme because it's not recognised by Scotland. So it's 10 days isolation, and in total 3 tests that unfortunately she will need to do.
Okay, an important point you make there, though. Each nation has different stipulations, because we've had an email from Eugene. His son's fiancée is from the Czech Republic. They're having a wedding in August here, but the relatives will have to check closer to the time, and that will change, won't it, depending on which of the home nations you come into. This is one about going abroad. This is from Fiona in Shrewsbury. She said, I've had one of the AstraZeneca batches not recognised by Europe. Will this be resolved soon? She wants to get to Greece. Who doesn't? And what other tests will they require to avoid quarantine when she gets there? We've had loads in, actually, Julia, about this AstraZeneca batch.
Yeah, I mean, extraordinary reports last week, Nina, we saw, and, I feel for Fiona and anybody else that was reading that report. As it stands right now, there's absolutely no official guidelines to suggest anything other than the vaccine is, safe, it's recognised. We saw Boris Johnson on Friday really try to alleviate any fears at all and to give confidence. So as it stands right now, Fiona can travel to Greece. She will need to, thankfully, Greece do recognise the vaccination status, so she can proudly show her NHS app, if she's got the app, or a letter from the NHS to demonstrate her double vaccination status. She will need to make sure, if she is double vaccinated, that the second dose she's had outside of 14 days. So you've got to have at least 14 days before your last dose and when you travel to Greece. And there'll be no need to isolate if she can do that. So
and we are moving closer, Julie, aren't we, to a reciprocal agreement with the EU on recognition of double vaccinations. Finally, this is one from Karen. She says, my family lives in the States. I visit them every year, but haven't been able to, obviously. She's had the double AstraZeneca vaccine. Should she book her flight now for August and September?
Oh, I wish I could give Karen some really good news. I really do. Unfortunately, with the US travel to the US, we are unable to travel to the US right now due to a proclamation that the US government has in place. So that really is tough. So, Karen will not be able to travel right now, as will anybody else looking to travel. What makes it a little more complicated also is, unfortunately, the US regulators do not recognise AstraZeneca. So we need two things to happen before we can travel to the US: is the proclamation to be denounced, but also for the regulators in the US to recognise AstraZeneca as an approved vaccine, which currently right now they don't.
Julia, thank you so much. And I think what we have to say to encompass all of that is just be careful. We can understand why you'd want to book at the moment to get abroad, especially after watching Carol's weather reports this morning. But it is really, really important that you check out the insurance when it comes to all of those variables, because things are changing literally every day. So I wish we had some more straight answers. You're dying to get away, Louise, aren't you? But we've just got to take our time on this.